On paper, the Orbea Wild ST is a little bit confusing. It has the same travel as a Rise LT, but rides nothing like one. It shares the exact same chassis as the Wild, yet doesn't come close to the Wild's big mountain capability. It sits in this weird little gap where you wonder, why does this bike even exist? Turns out it's not a Rise, and it's not necessarily a mini Wild. But the way this thing actually rides is interesting. The Wild ST is essentially the sporty version of the Wild. It's stable, it's corner hungry, and still powered by the excellent Bosch CX drive system. For the right rider, it has a very clear and very good purpose, even if the spec sheet is a little bit confusing. Alrighty, here we go. The drive system. We're going to start with that Bosch CX, and at this point, we're beating a dead horse. The thing is amazing. We're going +2 here. It is still the gold standard for a full power motor. It's reliable, it's natural, quiet, and it's strong and helpful across a wide range of cadences. And I know I kind of brought up this is a bit like a Rise LT, but the motors are very different. The Rise LT's RS Plus can technically do full power, but it's not quite the same. You're not getting full power at every cadence or at every rider input. The Wild ST with the Bosch CX is still a more powerful bike. The Wild ST comes with the 750 watt-hour battery. Stock, that's the only option you can get. With that bigger 750 watt-hour battery, the range is excellent. Although you do give up a little bit of handling in favor of more range. I still go back and forth on this, but currently I'm camp better handling versus 7K vert in a ride. So just like the full travel Wild, you're going to get about 5.5 to maybe 6 feet per watt hour in boost at around 195 pounds. That's my rider weight. On this bigger battery, that works out to be about 4,000 vertical feet per charge. And I don't want to spill the beans, but I do have a cool little spoiler here. I've been riding the DJI Avinox, and the Bosch kind of feels slow compared to that thing. But we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. Stay tuned. For now, the Bosch CX remains the benchmark for me.
Oh, you did some landscaping back there.
Now we're in climbing. We're going to go +1. Climbing is a bit of a mixed bag on the Wild ST. The good news is the front wheel stays planted. You've got kind of a low, sporty feeling front end, which puts a lot of weight over that front wheel, so it doesn't wander, it doesn't lift. You can climb some pretty steep stuff. It makes the uphill handling good. And with that Bosch CX, there's plenty of power to climb those steep climbs. The Wild ST has a very firm and sporty suspension platform, and it does make it rather efficient, but the trade-off is that firm, sporty suspension platform is a little bit less active, so it offers just a little bit less traction, and that is the limiting factor in how this bike climbs in technical, loose, rough, gross kind of e-bike terrain. You end up having to sit down, or else that back wheel is going to spin out on you. So you have to rely on your seated power with the motor to get up something. You're not going to be able to stand and really crank to get up a steep climb because the back wheel is going to slide out. And that is why this bike is a good technical climber, not a great technical climber. And then when it comes to kind of the fire road, sporty, fast, efficient climbing, it's great. It's excellent. Descending capability. We're just going to go 0, neutral. The Wild ST is fine on the descents. It's stable enough at speed, it's predictable in corners, and it's moderately confident in rough terrain, but it's not exceptional. Because the chassis comes from the full travel Wild, you'd probably expect a little bit more comfort and control than you actually get on the Wild ST. It doesn't smooth out that terrain quite like other eMTBs do. And it's because you're not getting that super plush eMTB effect where your sprung to unsprung ratio is very favorable and that makes the bike feel very plush. And you're not getting that bat out of hell bike in chunky terrain. Instead, it thrives on easier, smoother terrain, blues, greens, flow trails, the occasional black diamond. But once things get truly rough, this thing kind of runs out of comfort and control. You can ride any terrain on it, but you're going to have to bring a lot more skill and bike control to the table. Overall, from a capability standpoint, it's fast and predictable and stable at speed, but not necessarily stable in the rough. Now let's go to the suspension performance here. We're going to go -1. This bike is kind of defined by its firm suspension platform. On those smoother, faster trails, it does feel very sporty and quick. It's a great match for local trails we have here like Lost Lad. where it can just carry speed and momentum, and it doesn't sap any of your energy as you're pumping through corners and rollers. On the rougher trails, stuff like Terra Ridge, it can be a little bit rattly. It's just not the most active suspension platform, and because of that, the small bump sensitivity and traction are a bit limited. The Wild ST does feel a little bit less sure-footed than other eMTBs in the category. Although one shining star here is because of how firm the suspension is and how high it rides, it does handle big hits very well. You've got a very stout frame, you've got a kind of stiff, firm, supportive suspension platform, and that's great for catching you on big hits. This is just a stiff, sporty eMTB from a suspension standpoint. Best way I can describe it is like a sports car on a rough dirt road. Sure, it is fast, it's supportive, and it's primed for getting after it, but you're going to be feeling it after hitting the roads at the speeds the car wants to go. And just like that sports car, there's just not a ton of float or comfort on the Wild ST. Now let's go handling. We're going to go +1 here. Handling is kind of the highlight of the Wild ST for me. That front end feels very low and sporty and snappy. And just to clarify, this is the same frame and chassis as the longer travel Wild. It's that shorter fork that keeps the front end lower on this bike. That's where the difference is coming from, not from a geometry difference. That sporty front end makes cornering very predictable and fast and fun. The frame is stiff and stable, and the bike holds a line well. So you put those two things together, and you're going to go really quick in the corners. So if you're into smooth, fast corners, this is probably going to be one of your favorite bikes. In the handling department, where the Wild ST falls a little bit short is in the playfulness or the pop factor. It is a little bit tricky to get it off the ground. Could be the overall weight, could be a combo of the geometry and the suspension, but it is just not the poppiest or easiest to get off the ground bike. This thing likes to stay on the ground and rip through corners rather than jump and play. So when it comes to jumping on this one, speed is your friend. You're not going to go slow and yank. You need to go fast. Now, versatility. We're just going to go 0. So the Wild ST covers a decent range of terrain from greens to blacks, but its firm suspension platform keeps it from being a true jack of all trades that you could take anywhere. The component flexibility on it is fine though. You can kind of customize using Orbea's Mayo program, although it's not the full Mayo program on this bike. You can still pick and choose a couple of components. You are locked into an alloy frame and you are locked into that bigger battery. So you don't have a ton of flexibility, but there is some. Intangibles, 0. The Mayo program, or Mayo Lite in this bike's case, definitely adds some points. It's nice to be able to get the bike out of the box as close to how you want to ride it as possible. The one thing you can't customize away, unfortunately, is the headset cable routing. It is still as annoying as it used to be, but apparently some folks like it, and I guess that's why we still have it. Either way, in the Intangibles department, nothing really stands out or offends too much, so 0. Now let's hop into some comparisons here, and obviously the Wild Full Travel versus the Wild ST needs to happen. The Full Travel Wild is a much more capable bike. It's smoother at speed, more comfortable in rough terrain. It handles big bumps and compressions and G-outs far better. The handling DNA is fairly similar though, but the Wild ST is a bit firmer, it's a bit harsher, and it's a little bit less confident when things get rough. As a result though, it is a quicker bike in easier terrain. It's certainly more fun in the corners just because of how snappy it is. It doesn't quite push through a corner like the Full Travel Wild does, so it is more fun in the corners than the Full Travel Wild. I mean, this one makes a ton of sense. If you want the capability, go Full Travel. If you want the planted little speed demon, go Wild ST. And now the other one that makes a ton of sense is the Rise LT versus the Wild ST. I had imagined the Wild ST riding a lot like the Rise LT, except with a Bosch powered motor, and I was completely wrong. Turns out the Rise LT is far more playful. It has better handling, it has better traction, it offers more pop, and I'd have to think that's the better option for the fun, playful, jibby rider. Where the Wild ST is the better option is in kind of the stoutness, the durability factor, the power from the motor factor. You're just going to get a little bit more of all of those things. So if you want fun, go Rise LT. If you want Bosch power and a grounded, speedy feel, go Wild ST. So who is it for? I've got 3 different groups here. First is the fast rider, a rider who values stability, efficiency, and just snappy, direct handling. They prefer a bike that stays high in its travel and responds very quickly to rider input. And now the next group, I think, are the road and gravel crossover riders. Someone coming from road, gravel, XC backgrounds, someone who likes a bike that feels very tight and sporty. They're going to like it because they're going to appreciate the efficiency that comes from this, and they don't mind that firmer ride feel. And lastly, we're going to talk about kind of a unique descender. It's the momentum or the smooth descender. Someone who can stay off the brakes, they can hit corners fast. They're not shrouping, they're not jumping, they're not popping, but they can hit a corner very well. And they have a way of using their speed to smooth out the trail rather than relying on the bike to do it. So they're going to like this thing because this bike is composed at speed as long as it's not super rough, but caution in really rough terrain at those speeds. The Orbea Wild ST looks a bit odd on paper, but on the trail, it clicks fast. It's not a mini wild and it's not a full power rise. It just feels like a firm, sporty, full power eMTB. That's going to do it. We'll see you next time.